has been a lot of talk lately that World of Warcraft just ran out of steam and that there just aren't any more big villains left to fight. However, I can say that really couldn't be further from the truth. The reality is that there are a million different enemies that we are left to face. However, to be fair, there is a modest amount of expansion-worthy, big, huge threats that could be utilized in the future. Everything from giant cosmological threats to local dormant monsters waiting for their opportunity to become the next grand enemy of Azeroth. So what are some of these big villains that we can face off against in the future? If you guys are looking for a really cool indie MMORPG to support, then Scars of Honor might just be the game for you. They have made massive strides in improvement these past few months, and they will be launching a server test for all the supporters where you can actually play the game that is in development. Scars of Honor is built by a very small but passionate team focusing on the social aspects of MMORPGs. Some of the most recent additions are a brand new launcher, landmarks, jump events, new character models, and a bunch of other things. So you can join the Discord and register for free, and you'll be able to play as soon as it is out. But if you decide to pledge and get a supporter or an honored account, you will be able to participate in the test that will be running from the 14th to the 18th of March, and you will get a bunch of other perks. So if you would like to support an MMORPG in development, check out Scars of Honor. New Old God. So, since forever, there has been talks of an additional old god that we didn't know about that might be hidden somewhere on Azeroth. This was proven and disproven time and time again, but mainly disproven with the Chronicle. However, recently, the legitimacy of the Titan Written Chronicle has been questioned, which could definitely lead to a new old god appearing. Maybe something was hidden from the books from the official record. It really could go countless ways. Maybe this old god wasn't imprisoned or couldn't be imprisoned in a traditional sense, so he was kept somewhere that no one can reach. Maybe this one broke out and has been free for a while. A popular speculation has been that he could be present on the potential Dragon Isles, and this could lead to just a whole bunch of other things. Seriously, every time until now we have fought old gods, either they just broke out, that we have weakened them in some way, they were half imprisoned, or there was always something that was hindering their true potential. But what if, for the first time ever, we actually faced off against an old god that has been free for a while, that has built his own mini Black Empire for thousands of years on some island that we didn't even know about, and he could actually pose a significant threat? This could even further be backed up by the fact that Blizzard essentially have confirmed that the old gods will return at one point, that their story is not over, so we could totally see them returning at some point in the future. However, what they meant by this is unclear and kind of vague, as we already defeated the notable ones, so maybe this is what they meant. Maybe they were talking about a different one. Could it be possible that a new old god is coming, this time maybe even backed by the Void Lords directly? Galakrond. Currently a pretty relevant villain with all this dragon talk, but I believe most people don't actually realize just how crazy powerful this gigantic dragon was and how much of a potential threat he is to Azeroth. Originally, Galakrond was just your regular random proto-dragon doing regular dragon stuff such as hunting and eating, but all of a sudden he was hit by some type of a curse which led to him eating his own, essentially becoming a cannibal. Long story short, this led to him doubling and doubling and doubling in size and also raising unliving drakes, which ultimately made him incredibly gigantic. In the end, this is how the dragon aspects came to be, as they managed to put an end to Galakrond. This was their achievement, albeit he was already not exactly in great health. What makes him incredibly interesting though is that he was hit by this green energy curse that Blizzard never actually told us what it is even up to this day. Even the actual writer that wrote this book didn't have an answer, and it is thought to be anything from fel to death magic to potentially something we are yet to learn about. This in itself could really be the biggest potential for our next villain, as this is an energy that turned a tiny dragon into a monster the size of half a zone in Northrend. Now, I know what you may be thinking, isn't he already dead, you know, like 10-15,000 years ago? What can they really do with him? But obviously it can go multiple ways. Either the threat wouldn't be Galakrond, but the same energy that corrupted him all those thousands of years back, which could be the focus of a new expansion, or Galakrond could be resurrected. As you may remember, Galakrond was nearly resurrected by the Lich King back in Wrath, and we barely managed to stop it, so someone could finish up this ritual or take on the Endeavor once again and actually succeed while we're distracted in the Shadowlands. Overall, a new Galakrond would completely dwarf Deathwing that would make Cataclysm appear as a walk in the park. Yrel. This is a villain that you might have never actually expected to see on a potential villain list, but this has actually been one of the most popular and controversial and interesting speculations for well over a few years. As we have learned in the past few expansions and the Shadowlands, the Light is definitely known to launch offensives and not just talk about believing and protecting and all that stuff, and they're just a cosmological force looking to expand and get their own piece of the cake, their own part of the universe. Well, something akin to this happened in the alternate Draenor as we had left all those years back. Over time, almost all the races were forced to serve the Light, and the Light army got incredibly tyrannical with Yrel leading the way. It was essentially the case of like, you can become a Light soldier or you can just perish immediately, so you can guess that wasn't exactly an easy choice. So now we have an entire planet filled with zealous Light followers, no doubt looking to further expand their influence and not just stay on Draenor twiddling their thumbs. The popular speculation has been that the Dark Portal would reopen, this time as the Light Portal, and that Tyrellian would be the one to open this gateway and lead them into Azeroth because, you know, he's the leader of the Grand Army of the Light. Now, Blizzard confirmed that a faction conflict will never happen again on the scale of BFA on Azeroth, and Tyrellian is currently the Alliance leader, but they never said anything about the Light army attacking us with both factions united. Overall, I think this could be an excellent change of pace, as until this point it was always the Void, the demons, the traditionally evil forces that we always saw as a threat. This time, the Light might demand conversion on Azeroth and also the utilization of the World Soul as their own engine, and we might just be the resistance. Void Lords. The villains. While the Void has always been a thing in Warcraft lore, the Void Lords were actually relatively a new addition just introduced in the Chronicle. They were said to be the leaders of the Void as a cosmological force whose goal was to corrupt the universe, turn it into chaos, and they couldn't manifest themselves in the material plane without a ton of energy. Well, there have been a few occasions where they did sort of show up, and that is when they, for example, destroyed the homeworld of the Ethereals, turning them into Ethereals as we know them, and a Void Lord invasion is some of the most cataclysmic events you can imagine, where they literally just devour a planet. Well, the Void has been getting more and more backstory as well as influence, and we are also learning that much of the Chronicle was written from a Titan perspective, so quite biased, and as Chaos is the exact opposite to Order, there is a reason they describe them as such terrible horrors. However, don't be mistaken, it's not like they're nice guys in any way. In fact, they may just be the most dangerous beings in the entire universe, and they do in fact want to spread their influence and they want to spread chaos. We have noted multiple invasions such as the one in the Shadowlands, and they threatened entire realms. As the Jailer recently potentially made a crack in the mechanism of the universe, it is 100% possible that this could be the opportunity for the Void Lords to finally manifest themselves in the material plane. For example, they could direct the World Soul energy of Azeroth for their portals, and this would in all reality be possibly the most dangerous villain in all of Warcraft history, because remember, thus far this was Sargeras, and Sargeras literally became Sargeras, the corrupted Titan, in order to battle the Void Lords, so this could really be a grand addition to the Warcraft lore. Sargeras. The biggest villain of the Warcraft universe, and the one that, unbeknownst to many, is not actually gone for good. Through Argus, we managed to imprison Sargeras, and currently Illidan is his jailer, but that is as far as we know in regards to his current state and whereabouts. However, his sword is still around Enceladus, and who knows what connection he might still have to it. The most important hint is that he played quite a bit of a role in the Jailer's plan. It is almost certain that he was manipulated here, but there is a possibility that there was some type of an unholy alliance between him and Zobal. One of the speculations is as Zobal left that crack in the mechanism at the end of Shadowlands, as the first one mechanism wavers, his prison might lose its power, because keep in mind, Sargeras is one of the most powerful beings in the entire cosmos, so he's not exactly a guy you can just, keep in a regular cage. On top of all of this, Blizzard actually hinted to us to keep looking at the sky and make sure that Red Dot is still there. As you know, the Red Dot is his prison, and there have been some talks in the community that the size has actually been changing these past few expansions. Sargeras' return could lead to many things: creation of a new Burning Legion, maybe joining a different cosmological power, returning back for his sword. Really, the options are endless, and while most of them would be cheesy, his return could really be interesting, obviously if done right. Corrupted Azeroth. This may seem like a completely unrealistic thing, but actually it might just be the most realistic and the most interesting and unique option on this list. So, as you may know, Azeroth is a pretty big deal. Whether it is an actual titan or not, we just don't know yet, but we know for certain that our world has a soul, a super powerful one. This soul empowers the Zereth of every cosmological force, and it is what more than likely keeps the entire universe in balance. Well, the Jailer has recently been attacking the World Soul. With some 9.2 spoilers, we can learn that he may have just created an imperceptible crack in this mechanism that no one might be able to fix, which could lead to a universe-wide cataclysm. On the other side, we have known for a long time that since forever, everyone has been after our World Soul, the Void Lords, the Titans, the Legion, and everyone wants to get this power for themselves. Well, what if someone actually succeeded, as the path to Azeroth lays open with the Sepulchre, and it did ultimately get corrupted? This could lead to a whole chain of interesting events, which could make this one of the biggest threats in the entire universe, and it could also turn the soul we protected and that protected us into a villain we might need to ultimately defeat. It really wouldn't be unrealistic in the slightest, as there is already a precedent with Argus and his defeat in Legion, and now in Shadowlands as well. This could be tied to one of the cosmological forces corrupting it, which we would also need to defeat, but it could also just be corrupted by no one in particular, and could pose a threat to the entire cosmos unless we just put it out of its misery. Definitely seems like quite an outlandish idea, but if done right, it would make for an insanely interesting expansion. Thank you for watching. Check out the Sylvanas Surviving the Shadowlands by clicking on the screen, and check out Lords Academy for videos on real-world history. See you next time.